It's after midnight, and I just got back from seeing A Ghost Story, and this is a interesting little movie. So I jotted down some notes, just like on my in my Buckethead concert review on the back of a tasty cake box because I didn't want to leave anything out because this is something else and it's something worth discussing. First of all, I should mention I went into this movie basically completely blind. I didn't see any trailers for this. I didn't read any reviews for this. I heard like nothing about this movie. This movie only has like 1,000 votes on IMDb, which for a movie, even if it's just a recently released movie, that's like nothing. So, and I didn't read any user reviews for it either. Um, what initially caught my attention was the title because it was under like more movies like this or people who liked this also liked this. After I saw It Comes at Night, I went on the IMDb page and a ghost story was under that section, and I'm like, wow, a ghost story. That's such a great name for a horror movie because like It Comes at Night is also like a psychological horror movie. And I'm like, and I saw the poster. The poster for this movie is awesome. It's just that white sheet in black and white, and I was immediately hooked. I thought, wow, that movie looks really cool. But then, as the release date approached, I saw on IMDb it was a drama fantasy romance, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. They're gonna like do the artsy, take the artsy route of like exploring themes of like grief and stuff. Um, and after seeing this movie, uh, those themes are there. There are themes about uh, like moving on, losing the one you love, like and getting more transcendental, like themes of the afterlife, purgatory. I'd say is probably a big one because in this universe, when you're a ghost, like you're uh, covered in the bed sheet that uh, of the bed you're in when you died, or at least when you become a ghost. I'm curious to see how that works in like someone who dies outdoors or something, where like uh, does like the grass become their blanket? I don't know, but like but anyways, the way ghosts work in this movie is after you've hit a certain realization or something, your the figure under the sheet goes away and the sheet just falls to the ground, which uh, could mean a number of things. Like if we're taking the interpretation that uh, these ghosts are souls in purgatory, then they have reached their penance and their soul has gone to heaven, leaving behind the sheet. Um, if we're taking the more philosophical view of ghosts, jeez, what's going on out there? If we're taking like the more philosophical view of ghosts, where they're like um, unfinished, the spirits that have unfinished business, or like the uh, memory of past events that keep replaying, or uh, just like stuff like that. It's been a while since I've read up on my ghost science, I guess you could say. Um, but yeah, like that's kind of the main arc of our main character, Casey Affleck, who I guess, I don't know what kind of direction he was given, but I guess in arguably one of his easiest roles, where he spends 90% of the movie covered in a white sheet with two eye holes in it. Um, this movie is a slow burn. It only has a 92-minute runtime, but it feels a lot longer. And for the most part, this movie's the good kind of slow. There's good slow movies and there's bad slow movies. Good slow is a movie that, quote, like, takes its time, and bad slow is like inefficient storytelling, like stuff that could have been cut out of the movie and the movie would have lost nothing. Like, this movie is slow, it takes its time. There are long stretches with no dialogue where it's all visual storytelling, and that reminds me of the directing. This director, I've never heard of him before, but like, he is a genius with lighting. Just, that's the one thing about the direction that really stood out to me. Um, and as far as slow burn, bad slow parts of the movie go, there's two instances I can think of. One is where after Casey Affleck dies, Rooney Mara comes home. I think it's Rooney Mara. She comes home and somebody had left her a pie, and the movie has this single, like, 4 minute long, like, single 4 minute long unbroken shot of Rooney Mara just sitting on the floor eating pie. Like, I get what you're doing, and it shows her, you can see from the emotion on her face, she's like slowly, like, the emotion is slowly welling up, but man, just 4 whole minutes of that, like, you could have cut that down a little bit and the scene still would have had the same effect, I think. But that, I can forgive that. The big bad slow moment in this movie is probably like 2/3 in. At this point, Rooney Mara has moved out, Spanish-speaking family moved in, and Casey Affleck turned into a poltergeist and scared them away, and then a team of paranormal investigators comes in and they have a party, and this is where the movie just stops dead for like 5 minutes. There's this one character, never been introduced before, like, I don't remember seeing his name in the credits. Just, he goes on like this 5 minute philosophical rant about how humans, like, try to leave behind a legacy and do something during their lifetime that people are going to remember them for. And, like, just like how even when the earth inevitably, like, has the day after tomorrow and wipes out 90% of the human race, someone's going to remember, like, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and keep it alive. And then when the sun becomes a red giant and swallows up the earth, we're gonna go to a different planet because we'll have the technology at that point, and the Ninth Symphony will still persist. And I'm sure there's something in there thematically related to what the movie is going for, but geez, man, it's just a 5 minute exposition scene of just this dude rambling, and it just stops this already slow movie dead in its tracks. And really, I think it could have been cut and the movie would have lost nothing. Like, this movie would have gone down to like 85 minutes, which even though it's less than 90 minutes, that's still a theatrical runtime. You still probably could have worked with that. Um, let's see. And my only other complaints are like largely just like creative decisions. Like the score for the most part is really beautiful. I love the orchestral arrangements. They have this very atmospheric, somewhat melancholic vibe to them that I really like. But the things I hate are there's a couple scenes that have like this uh, alternative, hipstery electronic sound, which I get why they put it in the movie. Like, Casey Affleck's character is an aspiring musician or something, and he makes that type of hipstery electronic music, which doesn't really work with the other music, just for me personally. There is one scene where it does work, where Rooney Mara is listening to a song Casey Affleck had written for her, and like it's a sweet, touching scene, and the music works because like it's something that exists within the movie's universe that character produced. Um, but other than that, it just didn't work for me really. But other than that, the score is really nice. Um, uh, there's not really much else to say about this movie other than it's an original idea. Like those of you saying Hollywood's just all superhero movies and reboots and remakes and stuff based on like novels and books and just no original like screenwriters out there anymore. I mean, this is really far removed from traditional Hollywood, at least like mainstream Hollywood nowadays. Like, if you want to see something original, I'd say this fits the bill. Um, and keep in mind, I just saw this movie like 2 hours ago, so uh, this is just my quick, somewhat informal initial thoughts on it. Um, Maybe to appreciate this movie more, I would need like a second viewing, or I just need time for it to sink in. Because I've seen movies where I didn't get it at first, but then after like a few months in some cases, I think back on it like, huh, what that movie did was actually really interesting and original. Huh, I appreciate it more now. Um, oh, and for those of you who like time travel, this movie becomes a time travel movie at one point because, like, at least I think it does. The ghost, his house gets knocked down, and he, like, on the site where his house was, they build a skyscraper, and he's just in the skyscraper now, and then eventually he's like, this is boring. I'm gonna go on top and jump off and commit suicide. Well, you're a ghost. You're already dead. You can't die again. So instead of dying, he goes back in time like 400 years when there's English settlers coming into the area, and uh, there's I feel like within this film's audience, there's gonna be a discussion about what's written on the note, and you'll know what I mean when you see the movie. It might sound like I'm spoiling a lot of stuff, but I'm really not. This is the kind of movie you really have to see for yourself to really get and appreciate. Um, like, even if you don't get it, the movie's a visual feast. It's beautifully shot. There's a lot of fantastic visuals. This director is a genius with lighting, and just like, even though there's certain things like creative decisions that bother me personally about it, like if I had co-written this movie, I would have uh, wanted to change some stuff. But um, yeah, it's just a very unusual, unique theatrical experience, and if you have the patience to sit through it and you're in the mood for something new and different, I think this movie is really worth checking out at least once. Even if you hate it, I think it's still worth it.